Good afternoon, Bookfighters. It is Tuesday, July 28th, 2015. And boy, does it feel good to be home. So as you can see, we're in the same old place, same chair, same bookcase. Slightly less quality video, but you know, that's what happens when you don't make a video for 3 years. You lose the charger to your camera and you can't find it, and then this is what happens. Can you believe it's been 5 years? I'm honestly, when Dan sent me the message saying that it had been 5 years and that he wanted to do a reunion video, I was flabbergasted. I honestly could not believe that much time had passed. It feels like just yesterday, you know, like it's only been a week since I posted my last video, and I have no words for how good it feels. I didn't think that I would miss this much, and yet here we are. It really does feel like coming home, honestly. So yeah, it's been 5 years, and honestly it feels like no time has passed at all, even though so much has happened and so much has stayed the same, you know? I mean, when we started Bookfighters, I was like 18. That's weird to think of. I'm 23 now, which, I mean, basically the only difference is now I'm bitter and jaded and I can drink in public, so, you know. No, I'm kidding. A lot has happened and a lot has stayed the same. I mean, I've made friends, I've let friends go, I've traveled, I went to London, I met Dan. It was crazy. You know, life goes on, and yet still here we are 5 years later. We're all still friends. We're still willing to make videos together, and that's really cool. So in Dan's video yesterday, he talked about the best book that he's read since Bookfighters, and honestly, I really haven't read that much since we stopped Bookfighters. I know, I'm a big slacker. But the books that I have read, I think having done Bookfighters has really changed my relationship with books and reading in general. I think I'm a much more critical reader. I think that I'm much more willing to try new things. I'm much more willing to read books over again that maybe I didn't quite like at first, to see if my opinions on them. The best book that I read since we stopped Bookfighters, honestly, I thought about it and I thought it would be a much harder question to answer, which it really didn't end up being. The best book that I've read since we stopped doing Bookfighters, hands down, Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. You know, I grew up with the musical. I grew up, you know, basically knowing the story, but I never sat down and read it because, God, look how big it is. It's enormous. She's called the Brick for a reason. But honestly, having read it, I think it's made me a better person. There's not a lot of books that you can say that you, like, having read them, literally made you a better person. But reading Les Mis and fully experiencing it and even being part of the fandom and having critical discussions and everything really has broadened my horizons. I think it's made me a more compassionate person. I'm just gonna sit here and hold it because it's in my lap now. It's an experience. The book itself is an experience. It's mind-altering. It's life-changing. That's a little extreme to say about a book, but really, you know, I'm not being facetious at all. That's really how I feel about it. Les Mis is very, very important, and I really don't quite have the words to explain how much it means to me. And without having done Bookfighters, I don't know if I ever would have sat down and read it. You know, I mean, it was never a recommended book or anything that we talked about, but like I said, you know, doing this channel, being a part of this, and, you know, reading the things that we did and, you know, having the kinds of discussions that we did really opened me up to being able to read stuff like this and making me ready and bringing it to me in a time in my life when I really needed something like, you know, Les Mis and the lessons that it has and everything. And I will always have changed that. And not just for that, but for everything that Bookfighters gave me. I think, like I said earlier, Bookfighters really made me a better person. I think being friends with all of you made me a better person. You know, I will never regret any of the experiences that I had doing the channel. I will never regret doing this channel. I will never regret meeting any of you. I will always remember all of the things that I was able to do because of this channel. You know, meeting everybody, going to VidCon, even meeting some people who watched the show, like, that kind of stuff will stay with me for the rest of my life. And I never would have had that if Dan hadn't just sent out that email one day saying, hey, do you want to be part of an online book club? And I said yes, which is something that I probably never would have done. And I don't know why I did it, but I'm so glad that I did. And I'm really glad that we're doing this reunion week. And it's going to be so great to see everybody's videos again. And even just to be able to hear your voices again. Like it's old times, you know? So it is with great pleasure that I say, Kalinda, I will see you tomorrow, and fare thee well, Bookfighters.